Genshin just added a new system that rewards free 5-star constellations, and in this quick guide we're making a tier list to break down the best early constellations that bring the most value to your account. There is also the new level 100 system, which plays a big role in how we make these choices. And so we'll cover how both systems work and go over each character's early constellation to see who is the best for you. Hello, welcome to Genshin Filter, your quick guide for everything Genshin. So let's get started! The Fleens and Yelan banners are finally here, and if you're low on wishes, I know topping up in-game can get really expensive. Here is how you can save money with today's sponsor, Loot Bar. Loot Bar is a safe, secure and reliable way to top up Genesis crystals, and thanks to the new regen resetting the double top-up rewards, you can get incredible new deals in the site. Plus, new users get a 10% off coupon. Loot Bar has worked with many well-known creators and has great reviews, so it's very safe and trustworthy. The process is super simple. Choose the deal you want, enter your UID and server, and you are done. It's 100% safe and delivered just under 30 minutes. And yes, PlayStation and Xbox players can use it too. Loot Bar also supports other games like Honkai Star Rail and Withering Waves, so hit the link in the description or pin comment to try it yourself and start saving. And thank you Loot Bar for sponsoring this video. Let's do a quick breakdown of the new systems to see how they work and their value to our tier list. First is the Constellation system we are talking about today, to temper Thyself and journey far. By doing your daily commissions and spending 120 resin for 5 days a week, you'll get rewards each week. And after 8 weeks, you can choose 1 free constellations from a pool of characters released from Mondstadt up to Sumeru. This repeats for 12 weeks, for a total of 4 constellations in a full region cycle. The downside is there are no Archons, Kazuha, Yelan or Arhetam. You also need to already own the character, and you can only choose each character once. The second system is the option to raise characters to level 100. To do this, you need a new item, the Masterless Stella Fortuna, which you only get when pulling a character you already have at C6, and you need 3 of this item to reach level 100 on one character. Getting your main DPS to level 100 gives about a 5 to 10% damage boost, if they only rely on raw power like in Freeze or Hyper Carry teams. But reaction drivers in teams like Bloom, Hyper Bloom, Melt or Vaporize can see a much stronger 10 to 20% damage increase, which is very impactful. So to not waste your time, if you're a meta player, the absolute best value by a fair bit is walking towards C6 on your standard characters, so you can get some of your characters to level 100, as no constellation on the system pool characters will give you a better or stronger value. If you've been playing for a while, you probably already have some constellations for them, and will keep getting more as you pull for new characters. That, together with the new constellation system and the free standard character selector, should help you reach that goal in a respectable time. If you are not sure which standard character to invest in, I already made a full breakdown of the best constellations in my standard character selector guide. I put the link for it in the description. Okay, so now that we got the meta stuff out of the way, if you just want to get the character you love, that's completely valid. This is a game, and the most important thing to do is enjoy and have fun. For some, making their account stronger is what makes it fun, and for others, it's just collecting and exploring with their favorite characters. So let's break it down. Ayaka can be a strong carry these days thanks to Escoffier. Her C1 reduced the cooldown on her skill, which does make it easier to use it twice in one rotation, and that can help with energy, which she really cares about, as her burst is the main source of her damage, but in practice it's just a nice upgrade, and also get you closer to a C2, which is a strong upgrade of around 10% damage increase, as it releases 2 more mini bursts in each side of the main burst, which can add a lot to a total damage, but it can also miss, which does make it situational. Eula is a carry of a very bad element, Physical, which makes her pretty bad overall. Her C1 does give her a nice boost in damage of around 5 to 10%, but it's not that impactful as her base numbers are just so low in physical teams. Her C2 makes her skill hold cooldown the same as her skill press, which doesn't really do much at all. Albedo, in addition to him being a bad character these days, his constellations are also really not good. His C1 gives a bit of energy, and his C2 just gives a bit more damage to his burst. So both constellations improve his burst, which is not his main source of damage. Hu Tao is still a very strong carry with a great first constellation. Her C1 removes the stamina consumption from her charge attacks, that gives incredible quality of life for her playstyle, that does result in around 15% damage increase. Her C2 increases the Blood Blossom damage by a bit, which is just a nice upgrade for her damage. Wanderer is still a nice and fun carry that has some good constellations. His C1 gives him attack speed, which he really appreciates, as well as more damage to his flying arrows when he dodges, which is around a 10% damage increase, and is a strong upgrade for him. His C2 is an even stronger damage boost of around 15% to his burst, but it only works at the end of his rotation, when most buffs are already expired. So it loses a bit of its value, but it's still a strong upgrade. I will also note that the rest of his constellations are also pretty good. Childe is an on-field driver who is really good in only one team, International, which is not as good as it was anymore, and that makes him not that good unfortunately. His C1 shortens his skill cooldown by 20%, which you don't really need, but it's a nice quality of life as it is his main issue, and his C2 helps his energy, which is just a bad constellation. Cyno is an OK on-fielder that is mostly used in Dendro teams. His C1 gives him attack speed, which is not that helpful for him, but it's a nice upgrade. And his C2 is a damage increase to his electro damage. But in Dendro team, that is just a part of the team's damage. So it's around a 10% damage increase, and it is a strong upgrade. Ganyu is a decent character to use in reverse melt or as an off-field cryo sub DPS. Her C1 reduces the cryo res on enemies, which can be nice for her with the cryo DPS she might support for around a 5% damage increase. Her C2 gives her another charge on her skill, which is pretty bad. Itto is an OK Geo main DPS. His C1 is a nice quality of life for his combos, which is around a 5% damage increase. And his C2 is a strong upgrade, giving him energy and around a 10% damage increase. By the way, the constellation in each tier are not ordered. I will order them from best to worst at the end. Kokomi is a good healer that has a great use in Nilou team as a driver, but her constellations don't really support that much. Her C1 gives her more damage to her normal attacks, which scales of HP, but in Nilou teams you will have her build on EM, so it's not really doing much. Her C2 gives her more healing, which is good in Nilou teams given the self-inflicting damage it does, but this self-damage has been reduced, so it's much less impactful now, and it makes this constellation just a bit more comfortable in Nilou teams, but not really necessary. I will say that focusing on getting the Masterless Stella Fortuna and getting Kokomi to level 100 will be a significantly better increase to her damage. Yae Miko is a good electro sub DPS, but the big issue is that she takes a lot of fill time. Her C1 gives her more energy, which because you use her mostly in double electro teams she doesn't really need, but it's situational, as it can result in up to a 15% damage increase when you run her as a single electro, so it is a nice upgrade. Her C2 gives her a strong skill damage boost of around 15 to 30% more personal damage, which sounds like a ton, but given her OK base numbers and long uptime does hurt her overall value, but is still a strong upgrade. Yoimiya is really just an underwhelming character, as her numbers are just too low, and there are just too many better alternatives. Her C1 requires her to use her burst, which she doesn't really want to do, as it's weak, and doesn't really work with her Shiminawa sets, so it's pretty bad. Her C2 increases her pyro damage for around 5% damage increase, which is a nice upgrade. Baizhu is a good team-wide healer in Childe, who works nicely in any Dendro reaction teams, and even just as a healer on Furina teams, but does find less and less play, as more supports are taking his spot on those teams. His C1 is a nice quality of life improvement, giving him another charge for more healing and energy, which he doesn't really need, but it's a nice upgrade. His C2 gives him a bit more Dendro application, which is nice, but makes a small difference. Shenhe is a great support in freeze teams for all cryo main DPSs, and still the best last slot in the premium Skirk and Ayaka teams, which makes her a very nice support to have. Her C1 gives her another charge on her skill, which is a nice upgrade for a bit more quality of life flexibility on her Ayaka and Skirk team, and also more energy. Her C2 gives her more uptime in her burst and crit damage from cryo, which is around a 5% damage increase. It can seem a bit low, but given she supports really strong carries like Skirk and Ayaka, it is a strong upgrade on their teams. Nilou is a great character these days, thanks to Lauma release making her Bloom teams one of the strongest in the game, which her constellations improve even more. Her C1 gives her more uptime on her skill, which is a nice upgrade as it's more Hydro application. And her C2 gives the team Hydro and Dendro res on enemies, which is around a 15% team damage increase to an already very strong team, so it is worth getting, and probably the most impactful constellation to get out of all the characters on this list, outside of the standard characters. Klee is an OK carry, but has an uncomfortable playstyle that can hold her back for most people. Her C1 gives her a nice damage boost that has a chance to be applied, making it a bit inconsistent, and her C2 decreases opponent defense by 23%, which is a strong upgrade on her teams, making her a good use even as a support that only has around a 5 to 10% damage loss behind Mavuika, which is really good, but there are free characters like Shangling and Pyro MC who can do a great job there, so it does hurt her value. Ayato is a fine carry who can enable some good reaction teams and can even be used as an off-field sub-DPS like Ganyu. His C1 gives him around a 5% damage increase, but it only works on enemies under 50% HP, which makes it just a nice upgrade. His C2 gives him more damage and makes his HP scaling a bit more relevant, which result in a 10% damage increase, so it's a strong upgrade for him. Xiao is a nice and fun carry similar to Wanderer, but his constellations are not good. His C1 gives him another charge on his skill, which can help with energy but not really that useful, and his C2 also helps with his energy, which he doesn't really need in his premium teams. So I now organize the tiers a bit better, from the best constellation to the worst. But in the bottom tiers, the order is not something you should really pay too much attention to, because if you end up getting one of these, it's probably because you don't care about who is the best and just want your favorite, so just go for it. Remember, this system lets you get 4 constellations in a region cycle, so don't just focus on just one, and plan ahead for the 4 constellations you want to get and in what order. As I said, if we are talking about the best value, it would be to choose only the standard characters, because getting them to C6 as soon as possible will allow you to get your favorite characters to level 100 faster, and will probably give a bigger damage increase than getting the constellations of the other characters on this list. That said, if you do play C1 Nilou or C0 Hu Tao, or even both, picking the constellation does give you a worthy value in my opinion. So you can get them first and then go for the standard character for the rest of your choices. And if you don't care about meta, just pick your favorite character. And that's a wrap. If this video helped you in any way, consider giving it a like and subscribe for more Fit the Guides. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!